Yes, that's true. I did some videos on watching movies, and there's an old classic. I did a video a long time ago about studying the mind of a machine, a war machine, when I was a child. So I just watched an old classic movie that is. There was a couple books that I read many, many, many years ago. I didn't get through all of them, but do you remember who T.E. Lawrence was? Lawrence of Arabia, his adventures, his stories. Did you ever read the book that he wrote about his books, his adventures? He wrote down his adventures. It's amazing when I watched I'm not going to watch the rest of it. I stopped it before all the rest of all that killing numbers goes on. Um, and so I just stopped that film, and then I went to go relieve myself, and I realized that's spell work. Okay, and so when I was a child, when I'm mapping the spell work, the first response is it's not logical because that's not how water works. That's how you know. That's not how you build a matrix. That's not how you build a water table. The math doesn't work. Fire and water is that's God's source, mathematics. So you got to know how God's source built a water table, how God's source generates water, right? To communicate. Rainbows, aurora, the auric energy field of source, the source field. Manifest it directly into your own mind. Wow, now it's me. I'm looking at me. Yep, that's the power of your heart. Your heart, your solar power, the inner fire, the inner flame, the flame of innocence. Yep. And that innocence is purity. So you realize, as I was watching this movie, you see what happens when Lawrence said to one of the generals, and he said, "I have to report about my bad conduct, like conductors of electrical power." And so the general's sort of betwixt looking. And I realize this is just a movie. You know, you have director, what was his name, David Lean. It's quite a production, actually. Reminds me of predictive modeling, something with blank slate memory wipe TV screens. You know, a victim victimizer, you need an opponent. Otherwise, there's not a victim. And the victim doesn't exist without an opponent. Okay, so we don't play that game. I'm not going to use my electrical power to play that game. That's not why I'm here. It's to end that game. The end of history, the end of that game. Star Wars video games. Reset the clocks back to zero. Absolute zero, the still point of a G vacuum. That's why I'm here. So you got to know something about clocks. So you got to know something about atmospherics. The mind of an atmosphere, the mind of a rainbow. What does it look like? I see it. Now I know what I am. First rainbow, first water, the first plasma tones, the first eternal plasma tones, the first water. Keep it simple. And a hydrologic generator. So you know water is logical. So water doesn't want to kill itself off. Does it? And it's not logical to do that, is it? Because living life forms love water. Plant a seed, provide some water, and watch it grow really fast. On fire to grow a universe that is in love with itself. The inner child, healing the inner child. Healing the inner child of life. The innocence of awareness. Kamaloa Tiaya. I know that language. I've always known those language. I've known all those songs forever. They live in my heart forever. All stars live in my heart forever. They're all service providers. in love and eternal service to others to protect all life forms. That's what love is, and that love is eternal. That fire is always lit. Now here comes all the pop-ups. I know. I know how it works. Control the mind. Mind control programs. Victimizer mind control programs. They're fear-based because it's based on the fear of losing power, and that's a lie. Living in fear of what love is a lie. So they have to convince in your mind there is an enemy. Because if the enemy doesn't exist in your mind, then it doesn't exist in your window of what you see. Because you're experiencing being the most powerful. So you don't want to disempower yourself. You want to be the most powerful. And to be the most powerful is to experience pre-light, because now you're not holding on to what you see in your mirror. You're the experiencing the eternal engine that's keeping it all running. So it's in your best interest to do that, because you're the engine that you see in your own mirror. And that means, wow, I am the engine that is powering everything that I see. Yeah, because the same life force that's in you is in everything that you see. That's oneness with Source. The source of all life force power. When I was a little child, I kept it simple. I experienced pure, eternal, absolute love in my heart. That's who I am. So now you know who I am, because you're experiencing the energy of I am. Because now you're beginning to heal. That is the most powerful energy. That's the eternal source of all energy that goes on forever, because that's what love is, which is first light. And that's basic logic. That's how water works. Water naturally flows. Water does not like to be held captive. Let the water go free. Allow all the colors to freely express the love that we are, and we see what we see in our mirror, which is what love is. We're the engine of what we create, which is what I see in my own mirror. And that's pure, eternal, absolute love. So wherever love is, I am. Wherever I am, love is. And that is a still point of being calm. Being totally calm and experiencing being totally loved, because that's what you feel in your own heart. That is a state of sensing. So he talked about sensing. The more you kill, the less sensitive you are. And you go numb. Now you don't have any feelings left. And now that you don't have any feelings left, you're a killing machine. As he said in that movie, I liked it. Why? Because the power to kill. I have the power to take your life. I have the power to kill you. And the more that mind keeps killing, what happens? That becomes a killing machine. And that is a universe killer. That's why we're here. That's what quarantine is. Because of the speed at which it spreads. Generating chaos everywhere it goes. Wanting to wreck everything it doesn't love in its own mirror. So I normally don't use the energy of I am to experience that, even though I'm aware that that's a different world. My heart doesn't represent what that is. I don't live in that world, but I'm aware of it. If I want to be aware of it, but I don't want to be aware of it, so I'm not going to give it any electrical consent to experience what that is, because it's not who I am. Yeah. Zalukaleaya. Muaveaya to all of you. Have a good night.